Anyway.
Why not? So, always fun. And I'm thinking, Jeff, that I need to make you the presenter if you want to share your screen. Right. And I think you can turn on your
Video.
Yeah, turn on your video. Oh, look at that.
There it is.
Too fun. Hey, right. And so, hey, friends, I'm not going to unmute you all. We'll get a little closer to that. But if you could use the chat feature and tell us if you're seeing this, that would be awesome. Jeff, I'm going to turn this over to you. Oh, thank you, April. Yes, awesome sauce. Good deal. Jeff, I turn this over to you, brother. Go, go, go.
Okay. Greetings, everyone. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for the privilege of your time. Though all of us are not infected, all of us are affected. And I want that to be the mindset that we have as we enter into this devotional time this afternoon. I'm going to draw from an Old Testament passage of scripture and one that you're familiar with from 2 Kings chapter 6. You would know it as the passage of the axe head floating, but I want us to look at the front end of that passage and not the tail end where that miracle occurs. Because on the front end, there is a lot taking place that I don't want us to miss there. And you can only appreciate 2 Kings chapter 6 when you put it into an historical framework and context. Remember, back in that time, there were people, hundreds of them, if not more, hunkered down in caves, hiding from a fatal, lethal threat. Now, back then, it wasn't a germ, it was Jezebel, who was hunting down the prophets of God and seeking to take their lives, much like this virus that has spread across our region, across this country, and around the world is seeking to take people's lives as well. But I want you to not miss that while that is happening, and while there's much fear and anxiety and concern, there's also some other things that are taking place that come out of that experience that I want you to grab onto, both individually, pastorally, and congregationally, as we continue to move forward in this present reality. First and foremost, what we see happening is that out of that national crisis, 3,000, 2,500 years ago, there arose a spiritual sensitivity and awareness that had not been in their land for a long period of time. So much so that when we get to the first part of 2 Kings chapter 6, it says that this school of ministry that had been created, had been founded, had been started, had grown to such a point that the students, or at least some of them, came to the headmaster, being the prophet Elijah, and said, "Where we are gathered, it is too small." Now, let me frame this in present day reality. What we have seen happening over the last number of weeks throughout this pandemic in our own region is churches going online. But what we've seen come from that is that a congregation of 30 or 50 or 70 have seen their post viewed 5 to 6 times. Global Outreach Ministries has said that their views on their web pages have gone from 350,000 hits a day to over 500,000. And I have to believe that, yes, there are Christians seeking resources to encourage their own faith and know how to effectively share their faith with others. But I also have to believe that what is occurring there is that they're seekers looking for truth, looking for answers. We're finding that all over the place and in our own region as well. And we need to tap into this spiritual awareness and awakening that may not happen again to this level and degree in our lifetime, but is present in the moment in which we find ourselves living, and sets the stage then, as well as for us, for the rest of the story to play out. Notice what also happens as that begins to occur there in that 2 Kings chapter 6 passage. So you got these people seeking. You've got this spiritual sensitivity and awareness on the rise. What happens is people take it to the next level, and they make a commitment now to be a student of the prophet. They're junior prophets. They're prophets in training. In other words, they've gone to a level of just checking things out to literally checking in, signing up, saying, I'm on board. They want to learn. What's happening really is spiritual decisions are taking place. And we're seeing that as well. I've heard in just the last week that we've had spiritual decisions occurring. A young person made a decision from an online service by following up what they heard online, calling the church and getting in touch with the pastor. I've heard of a pastor that set up a secondary Zoom link after the worship service and said, if you'd like to meet with me, I'll be parked over there. You can use this link and come in. And a woman from Florida, and this was a church clear across the country, an American Baptist church clear across the country, but a woman from Florida went to that link and in that room online made a faith decision for Jesus Christ. I also heard of another pastor who, using the raise your hand feature in Zoom to indicate to the session facilitator that they'd like to participate, at the end of the service, the pastor said, if there is somebody that would like to make a decision for Christ based upon what you heard, and this was just this past Easter Sunday, you can use that button on your screen and raise your hand. And a man raised his hand. There's a young person, there's a woman, there's a man, an adult man making spiritual decisions. And you'll see that occurring during this period of time. We saw it then, 2,500 years ago. We're seeing it now. Second thing that we see occurring are individuals becoming leaders. Notice, this student body begins to strain the confines of the spiritual structure. And hear me when I say, friends, this virus will run its course. This virus will come to an end. And we need to be ready for that already in the present moment, but to respond into the future. And notice, wouldn't it be great? Won't it be great that first Sunday back, when we come back to our buildings, if we pack the places out, if so many people come offline and come on site? But the reality is that this 2 Kings 6 passage says that the student body constrained the structure. They came to the headmaster, Elijah, and said, this is too much. In other words, some of the student body stepped out from the rest and said, we've got to do something. Some went from being mere students to becoming student leaders and servants. Don't miss that, because what we're seeing take place right now is that some of you have gone online, and some of your laity who before kind of just sat in the pew have stepped up and stepped in. They've taken on responsibilities that they would never have under the previous normal reality. But in this new normal, they're willing to do what they didn't do before. Not only that, you're seeing individuals who are willing to be equipped and trained, individuals willing to adapt what we previously did and make it meaningful through online and other means of communication, and people willing to be flexible and adopt new methodologies in order to spread the faith. Those are leaders. Those are individuals who are saying, I see the future, and I'm willing to be part of it in whatever role and capacity I might be able to play. And then the third and final thing I want to share with you from this the 2 Kings chapter 6 passage is that there is incarnational ministry. Remember, the students go to the headmaster, the prophet Elijah, and they say, we want to go to another location. We want to branch out. We want to do more than we've already done and do it differently than we've done it before. But they say, we want to put hands and feet to this. Notice they say, let us go. That means walking in a certain direction. They say, let us build. That means using, they want to be the hands and the feet of God. And that's what we're seeing, because what you see is spiritual awareness, which leads to spiritual decisions, which leads to spiritual devotion, which now leads to incarnational ministry. And there are individuals in our churches that are seeing beyond their house walls, in their neighborhood and community, beyond the church walls, in its context, and they're saying, we've got to do something tangible. We've got to make a physical, real difference in these people's lives, whatever that might be. And for each congregation, it will be different, because we're all in unique places where God has put us. But they said, we're going to put our feet and our hands to this effort, and we're going to do something incarnational, something physical, something that we can put our hands on and that other people can put their hands on and can change lives mutually. And then the last principle I want to bring out of this passage that you can't leave the text without mentioning is the fact that when they decide to go in this new direction, when things take a turn and their future is very different than their past, God, in the human representative of the prophet Elijah, goes with them. Friends, today, individually, pastorally, congregationally, God is with you. Not only with you, but God is for you. God is standing in your corner, cheering you on, saying, like the prophet said to those individuals then, God is saying us today, go for it. Try something. Give it your best. We can do this together. And they did accomplish much for God. And remember, what they did then was to lead to additional and further ministry. What we're living right now in this present moment isn't to be isolated to itself. It isn't to be seen in its own, and that when the virus runs its course and when we're out of self-isolation and social distancing, that we kind of tie a ribbon around it and put it on the shelf and remember it nostalgically. No way. What's happening right now is to set the stage for future and further ministry. This isn't just a hiccup that we're going to endure and then we go back or we somehow recreate the previous. No, what we are living in this moment in time is to define the future, is to give us an idea of what that future could look like as we put everything we've got, everything God gives us, into it. Remember that. God is with you. God is for you. He's saying, go, go, go. Let me ask you this question then as I wrap this up. Are you ready for the what then? Because the what then will come. It will come. The what then will arrive. So my question is, are you ready when people present themselves as seekers because of this heightened spiritual sensitivity? Are you ready when people say, I want to devote myself and make a decision, make a commitment to do something, to be something? Are you ready when someone says, you know I helped you then, but they may not need to do that now, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I want to be a leader here. I want to follow you, but I want to take others to a new place. And are you ready to push up your sleeves and say, here I am, God, use me? Thank you again for joining us today, and thank you for the privilege of your time. Now, we are, speaking of time, a little past, but that's okay because we're already on the Zoom call. But I want to remind you that we will be having a conversation today, now a little past 3:15. And what we're going to be talking about today is looking back on Holy Week and asking, what was that like for us? What lessons, what experiences did we live, and what lessons did we learn? And speaking of learning, I want to remind you that next week, Tuesday evening from 7 to 9 p.m. online will be the last of the 3 History of the English Bible sessions that Pastor Randy Powell has been doing a great job teaching. No registration is required. You should be getting an email link that's posted in our on our Facebook, sent out as a constant contact. But if you don't get that, you can reach out to us and we'll provide it to you. But you're welcome to join us. Lots, dozens and dozens and dozens of people have from across our region and even beyond it. So be mindful to participate. We will be meeting online next week for another session at 3:15. At that time, we'll have the devotional that Brother Mark Masurgian Smith will be sharing as a prelude to our sharing time at 3:15. So 3 o'clock on Facebook, 3:15 on Zoom. And again, that link will be provided to you. The conversation next week will be mental health as a clergy person. And we're going to have a special guest, one of the staff members from the Ministry Center in Columbus, Ohio, where we often send those preparing for credentialing to go before they receive their lay license, their ordination. And so we encourage you to come online with Chris and share in that experience as she shares with us. And then finally, it just went online today, the April issue of Notes and News. And let me say something about the online. Because of social distancing, because of the governor's order in Pennsylvania for most workers to stay at home, Denise was not able to get to the office to make physical Xerox copies to mail out. Therefore, this month, the only way to get a copy of the newsletter is to go on our website, ABCOPAD.org, go over to publications, and under there you'll find the April issue, as well as the growth points that is also monthly provided. What you normally get in the mail, you can get online. Just go to the web page and you'll be good to go. Again, thank you so much for being with us. Stay online because we're going to enter into our conversation time now. Be well, be safe, be blessed. Brother Mark?
Oops, unmute. Sorry about that. Thank you again for your patience, juggling a few things this afternoon. So much appreciated. Thanks, Dr. Jeff, for sharing that really powerful devotion. Just love being able to think about, what comes next and having, God cheering us on to say, go, 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 try something new. So really great. Frank, I'm going to let you kind of MC for a minute while I end our live stream and prepare for kind of the next step.
Sure, be glad to, because what we just